Can I just start this by asking you like how you got into the industry, doing stunts, where it all began?
Wow.
Take as
Yes.
long as you want.
So, all right. So now we can, since
Yeah, yeah,
since we switched over to the account.
yeah.
Um, yes, that started when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and um, I always saw stunt movies, like Bullet. My parents always took me to cool movies, and so I saw films like Bullet, and that sent shivers down my spine. Like, oh my gosh, I love this kind of stuff. And um, and then around 6 or 7, my parents took me to a live show one time. It was one of these car live shows where they do stunts, like a fair, and they do the ramp jumps and they set them on fire and put them up on two wheels, which is called skiing, around the stadium and things. And I saw them do this, and it was all Mustangs. So they were called the Mustang Daredevils. And so I watched these cars do these amazing things, these people do amazing things with these cars. And it was like an epiphany. It was like the heavens opened up and a loud hosanna, and like, yes, that's what I want to do. And so I had a focus. From then on, everything was about doing stunts. All my Hot Wheels, I'd be doing ramp jumps and crashes, and I would build models and then put fireworks on them and explode them, and then by the time I was 10, I was jumping off of barn silos into hay, and jumping off of trestle bridges into the river, and then I started when I got wheels. That was the killer. When I got bikes and I got mini bikes, I was jumping streams and ramps and things, and that was just always who I was. I just Everybody who remembers me as a kid just remembers me as that crazy kid that was always doing stunts, and crashing and doing stuff. And of course, when I got graduated to motorcycles, then I was jumping further and I was jumping over cars and creeks, and so I just had this laser focus. And then I went to high school and I got into cars, and that was, I couldn't wait. It wasn't that I was just I couldn't wait to get my driver's license, because I started driving when I was about 15. I grew up in the country, so I could drive around country roads all I wanted. So I would drive around, and I learned how to do really good stunt work, stunt driving, by the time I was 15 or 16. And I was doing 180s and reverse spins, and I taught myself all the cool things that I saw on TV. So by the time I was 16, I was pretty good at actually doing stunt driving. And then I just got better and better, and I practiced, and I would get old cars, and I learned how to put it up on two wheels by the time I was like 17. And when I went to high school, every single person in high school remembers me as that kid that always wanted to be a stuntman. Like, I guess I just talked about it all the time. And so um, even when I go back for reunions, and I'll talk to somebody that I haven't talked to since high school or something, and they'll look at me and they'll go, "Oh yeah, you're that kid that always wanted to be a stuntman. Oh my God, that's all you talked about. I'm gonna be a stuntman. I'm gonna go to Hollywood and be a stuntman." And then they'll say, "So what'd you end up doing?" And I went to Hollywood and became a stuntman. And you're like, "No, you really did that? Oh my God." And so nothing was going to keep me from that. And so my plan was finish high school, do a little college, and then in around 1980, I packed up everything I could in a little Datsun 280Z and trekked off to Los Angeles. I grew up in Missouri, so I was in the middle of the country. And then I went all the way to California, and that was my focus, is to be a stuntman. And so I got there. I didn't know anybody. And I got a roommate and I got a job so I could support myself. And then I started just devising plans to meet directors and stunt people and coordinators. So one of the first things I did was I would steal onto the lots, the studios, like Universal. And at that time, Universal Studios, there was a back entrance to Universal Studios, and the back entrance was for the background players, the extras, things like that. And so they had their own parking lot, and they had their own gate, and they would get there in the morning, and they had a shuttle just for the extras. And the shuttle driver, you just tell them what stage that you're doing work at that day, and they would take you to that stage and drop you off. And so it was relatively easy to get on the lot at that time. This was back in 1980. And so I heard about this, and I went there one day, went through the gate, jumped on the shuttle, and he says, which stage? And I went, 7. And they went, okay. So they took me in with about 10 other extras and dropped me off on stage 7. I had no idea what was on stage 7, but I was just going to try. And so they dropped me off, and I just started wandering around. And I went from stage to stage to stage. And I knew enough that if the light was red, never to go in there, because that means something's filming. Right. And so I'd wait until I'd see the red light go off, and then I would sneak into the sound stages. And I just looked like I knew what I was doing. I just walked in like I had a job there. And I mingled with stunt people and directors and talent, and talked with people, and nobody knew that I wasn't supposed to be there. And I got so comfortable that I used to, and this is like weeks and weeks and months. It just turned into months of doing this. And I would go to the commissary and eat lunch, and I'd sit there with celebrities, and I would just talk with them. One day, I remember. Do you remember the show The Munsters?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I go into the commissary one day, and there is Fred Gwynn, Herman, and Al Lewis, Grandpa Munster, and they're sitting together. And I just walked over. There were a couple of seats, and I said, "Do you mind if I sit here?" And they go, "No, no, no." And so we sat there, and we just talked, and they just assumed I was there doing a part, whatever. And we talked for like an hour at the commissary, and they were telling me Munster stories, and I was telling stunt stories, and so we just laughed and sat there about half an hour, 45 minutes or so. And then the next day I'd sit with somebody else, or extras, or stunt people, and I just got to know them. And then one day I was on, because now I got pretty good at it, and I found an office that wasn't being used. And because there were a bunch of offices at that time, they're kind of bungalows. This was on Universal. This is where Amblin Entertainment, Spielberg's company, eventually took over, which is this area of Amblin. And so there was an office not being used. So I just set up a little office, and I just would kick back and sit in the chair and put my feet up on the desk and make plans and look at the call sheets and see what stages we're shooting that day. And so that was like my little office. And I would go there. I'd go at my office. I would check the call sheets that I would get at the gate and say, okay, so this is filming on stage 7 today. This is filming on this stage. And so I would make my plan for the day, and I would go to the stages and meet people.
Yeah.
And so one day I went over to a TV show called Buck Rogers, and I think the 25th Century. It was Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray. And I went on there, and I met a couple of the stars. I was talking with Gil Gerard and Aaron Gray and Felix Silla. Silla, the little person that was there that would play Twiggy. And we were just having the greatest time. And the stunt coordinator came over, and they said, "You need to get this guy into this scene." And he goes, "Okay." And so he threw me into the scene, and I got my first TV show on Buck Rogers. And then from Buck Rogers, then I went to a show called Tales of the Gold Monkey. And that was produced by Donald Belisario, who later then did Magnum PI. And so that's how I got the gig on Magnum PI. Is I worked on Tales of the Gold Monkey. I got to know him, and we would sit and talk about writing because he was the writer, and I wanted to be a writer too. And
Mm.
so we would just sit around and talk. And then he eventually hired me. Said, "Come over. I've got this new show called Magnum PI. You should come over on it." And so he talked to somebody, and I got Magnum PI. And then by 1981, 82, I was working Dukes of Hazards because that wasn't too far away. Warner Brothers was just down the road a little bit. So I did the same thing to Warner Brothers and snuck on there and met the coordinators for that, talked with Craig and Craig Baxley and Paul Baxley. And so I just kind of, from then on, I just got this role and got to know more people and got more jobs. And eventually I was on Fall Guy and Dukes of Hazards and Knight Rider um, and Magnum PI. And then that led to movies and it just kind of went from there. So it's all just who you know. One of the things that I did first is I joined a stunt training school.
Mm.
And that helped. Not so much the training itself, it was the connections there.
Yeah.
Because all the people that I was with that were budding stunt people ended up, most of them, becoming really good stunt people. And so we all did it together, and then we would all go and hustle together and talk to stunt coordinators. And at that time, it was very easy to find where productions were going on. There was a call sheet that would go out every single day of all the productions going on in Los Angeles and even in the country.
Mm.
So you'd have a schedule of what's shooting where. They stopped that years ago because, for obvious reasons, you have fans that would then get that call sheet and then show up, and super fans and crazy fans and stalkers. And so they had to stop that many, many years ago. But at that time in the 80s, you could just download or print off the sheet, and you had a whole list of, okay, so Dukes is shooting here. This movie is shooting down the street here. This is in Burbank. This is in Santa Clarita. And so it was really easy for stunt people to go to the locations and meet the directors and stunt coordinators. And of course, I spent the first year, carrying equipment and being a grunt and doing all the stuff that nobody wanted to do. And I gladly did that because there was an end game. There was something at the end of that. And if you proved yourself, then you got to be thrown into something, and then they would throw you into something else. And one of the best trainings was being with really good coordinators. There was a guy named Benny Dobbins, and I think I mentioned him on one of the TikToks. He was Schwarzenegger's stunt coordinator, and he was Schwarzenegger's good luck charm. Schwarzenegger would not do a film unless Benny Dobbins was the stunt coordinator, because he was his lucky charm. And so I fell in with him, and he was an older guy, and he became kind of like another grandfather to me. And I would go over to his house and eat, and his wife would feed me, and we would talk about his stunts and what I could do. And I remember being on Commando, and I was with him. I hadn't been hired yet, and I was with him. And one day we were shooting this scene. It was this scene where the bad guys kidnap his daughter, and then they disable his blazer, and they pull out the spark plugs or the spark wire.
Oh, the truck. Yeah, yeah. It's going down the hill. Yeah.
And he has to push the truck over the hill and then ride it with no power down this hill. And there was a stuntman that was in piloting it, and there was a little hill, and then he was supposed to jump over this road and hit it just exactly right, because we had built up this dirt berm. And so he was supposed to hit it just right so it would flip it over and go sideways. And I was sitting there with Benny, and I said, if he hits that brake at all, he's not going to make it. And so he was listening to me kind of analyze the stunt. It wasn't like I just wanted to be a stunt man. I was analyzing the stunts. I was kind of getting an idea of how they're done and how they're not done. And so he's coming down that hill, and sure enough, you see just a little brake light hit, and that little brake light made it to where he didn't hit the mark and hit the berm, and it went completely another direction. And
Wow.
so that was, and it flipped over a different way, and there were explosions. I think it took out a camera too, and so he looked at me and he says, "How did you know that?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm a problem solver. I look at everything analytically."
Mm.
And he just went, all right. And that was the day that he knew that I was more than just a stuntman,
Yeah.
that I wanted to be a stuntman. I wanted to be somebody who could design stunts and know what works and what doesn't, and what's dangerous and what's not. And so he helped me from then on. And then I fell in with a stunt coordinator called Kerry Lofton. Now, Kerry was the stunt coordinator for Bullet.
Wow.
And so when I watched him back when I was a kid, and then fast forward to 1982, and I'm working with him, Kerry Lofton, my idol, because I didn't idolize celebrities or actors. I had no interest in them whatsoever.
Mm.
My heroes, my idols were stunt people and great stunt coordinators, and Hal Needham and Bobby Bass and Buddy Joe Hooker and all these stunt people that were great individuals that did amazing things. Those were my heroes. And so here I am working with Kerry Lofton on the first thing we worked on was a TV show called Simon and Simon. And with Gerald McCraney, and we were out and uh, the coordinator was out there, and they had to do this scene where they were playing chicken with a semi. Now, Kerry Lofton was a master at working with big rigs. He worked on White Line Fever and anything that you see a truck doing, like a
Did
semi.
he work on Knight Rider with the semi and Knight Rider?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I heard his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Anything that had to do with a semi, he was usually behind that wheel. You
Yeah.
could see even he played the truck driver a lot of times, so you could see Kerry Lofton driving the truck
Yeah.
oftentimes. So we had a '57 Chevy, and Dean Smith was the coordinator, and he became a really good friend of mine. He was a cowboy stuntman, and so I was there with him, and I was just observing. He just said, "Hey, come on over and watch this stunt we're going to do." So we were out in Santa Clarita, which is north of Los Angeles, about 30 minutes or so, and we were on this old country road. And so Dean Smith was driving the '57 Chevy, and Kerry Lofton was in the big rig, and they were doing playing chicken going down this road, and they were going to meet, and so to see who would go off the road. And so everything was set up. Kerry was in the big rig, and Kerry looks down at me and says, "Hey, I need a shotgun." And I'm like, "What?" Like, what? Like, I could like really ride with you in this? And he goes, "Yeah, I need to balance out the truck."
Okay.
I need some ballast, for the truck. I got
Okay.
to do
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
because I got to slide the truck. And I went, "I'm there." And I jumped up in the truck and I played shotgun in the semi, playing chicken. And he jackknifed the thing into a ditch, and it was just exhilarating being in a big rig sliding sideways into a ditch like that, driven by Kerry Lofton, who was my hero from when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Kerry Lofton he also drove the Dodge Charger and Crazy Larry, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, which hey, look at that, I wore this just
Lovely.
today. So he drove the Charger in that. He drove the Challenger in Vanishing Point. Um, so many things that he did back in the 50s and even late
Mm.
40s. Um, and so I got in with him and he helped me a lot. And again, I found myself being taken care of by him and his wife, Carol, and they would feed me because I was starving. And so they would invite me over, and every evening Carol would make me dinner, and he would show me his car collection, and so it just kind of snowballed from there. So that was kind of the genesis of where I came from, what I did, and who I was involved in getting me in the business.
That
So
is so amazing. That is so impressive. So take us just a little bit further on. Um, Obviously, you did Commando. What was the movie you did after that? Was that Rambo, or was that
the
how did?
so um, Benny Dobbins did Rambo, and he coordinated Rambo. So I didn't work on Rambo. I just helped Benny at that time.
Right.
Because he was still kind of vetting me, and so I was getting my sea legs under me when I did Rambo, and so he had me come out and work with some of the because I knew some of the stunt people by then, and so that was because it was shot not in LA, and it was in Canada and places like that. Um, so I couldn't go there, but I did the work. He worked with me to get ready for it, and so no, I didn't do Rambo.
Right. And then what did you work on after that? What was your projects after that?
Oh
Because
gosh,
you,
let's see. I got into Dukes and Fall Guy. Magnum PI was. People ask me sometimes, "What's my favorite stunt?" And I don't have really a favorite stunt. I just have a favorite production,
mm,
I think, and that was Magnum PI. Because how could anything suck when you're in Hawaii doing stunt
yeah,
work?
yeah,
You know,
yeah. And the
it
stunts
was.
in that were pretty awesome. I mean, one of my favorite TV shows is Knight Rider.
Oh
So
yeah.
I do really want to talk to you about Knight Rider, how you was involved in that, and
Yeah.
the stunts you did in that, created in that. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? Because I know Paul's thinking the same thing. Tell us a little bit about Knight Rider.
What do you want to? Yeah, what do you want to know? We most of the stunts that we did was with flubber, which is the chassis with the pretty much the kind of rubber plexiglass uh, shell over it, and that was the jump car. Um, so the jump car allowed the production to use that car over and over and over. Unlike Fall Guy. So Fall Guy, the first season, they used real trucks, and they were going through trucks like water. And 20th Century Fox said, "This is outrageous. Okay, you're going through way too many trucks here." And so Jack Gill, master stunt man and stunt coordinator, he took some technology that other people had taken and put together that jump car, which was for Knight Rider. And so it was basically like a dune buggy, but it was reinforced and it could take hits. It was like one of those really expensive off-road trucks that you see that could take long distance jumps, and then he just puts a Knight Rider a kit shell over it,
Mm,
and that way, if the shell breaks, that's great, but it could use the car over and over and over. So for the first season of Fall Guy, those were all real trucks. And then 20th Century Fox just said, "This is ridiculous. We can't go through this many trucks." And so Mickey Gilbert came up with that jump truck, which was a mid-engine truck. And so the engine was right next to you, right here,
mm,
and the weight boxes were fore and aft, and so we could weight it and then decide how you want to land. In most cases, like you'll see Dukes of Hazzard and Knight Rider, you'll see them hit nose first down like this, right? Because
mm,
you want that absorption because the front ends are designed for that,
mm.
to do that, to take that hit. With the Fall Guy truck, it was the opposite. You wanted to land on all fours because those big giant balloon tires is what helped in the landing like that. And so you have straps and bungees, and so you don't take the impact on the seat with the Fall Guy truck. After that, after the first season, then they were all those jump trucks that they could use over and over and over. So it was the same thing with Knight Rider. All those cars that did any kind of jumps were used multiple times. They got tons of jumps, dozens of jumps out of the one car.
I think one of the episodes, I think it was called Nightmares, where Michael Knight loses his memory and he's
Mhm.
running down an alley, and then you see Kit literally jump over a crossing.
Mhm.
He jumps over the people over the crossing and then
Mhm.
sort of lands.
Yeah.
That doesn't look like a rubber car. That looked quite convincing.
Yeah, which some of them that they did were we had first unit cars, second unit cars, and third unit cars. So first
Mm,
unit obviously was the really nice looking one that um, that David Hasselhoff gets in and out of and jumps
mm,
in and drives up, and they're beautiful and perfect. Second unit were cars that were fitted with suspension and nice equipment, so you could get a few little jumps and some nice turns out of it, and and a few minor stunts, and then yeah, the jump car.
why did they risk that though? I mean, why don't just have it sort of like rubber to begin with? Because I see
Well,
because that
some of
jump
the
was like really high. I mean, he clearly jumped over all these people,
yeah.
and then you could see it come down, and it nearly hit the side fence. So as it comes over, you see he almost lost control, and then
Mhm.
he brought it back in.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen that episode, Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
some of the jumps you can tell that based upon the camera angles, you can see right through the car.
Mm,
And so with the jump car, if you had an angle where you're looking up at it, a lot of times you can see daylight through the car
yeah,
because it's just a chassis and the thing over it. So there were a few jumps that they really wanted to look like it was a real car. And so those angles they tended to use a little bit more of the second unit cars that were beefed up
that's
because there were
so
some
cool.
shots they were complaining, actually people were complaining that okay, you can tell it's a jump car. The fans were even saying you can tell it's a jump car, you can see the daylight through the fenders and everything. And
Yeah, but I mean, most of the stunts in Knight Rider were very impressive.
oh yeah,
Like when Kit done ski mode, yeah. When you look at it now, you could see that there's a stuntman in a truck, sort of pilot in the
which
car or
which
stuff like.
was which was typically always Buzz Bundy.
Yeah, but the jumps, I mean, were pretty impressive,
Oh
and the
yeah,
stunts in
absolutely.
that episode, especially with some of the stuff they did with the semi.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you know the episode where Kit, I think it's Kit versus Car,
Mhm.
where Kit crashes into the back of the semi.
Mhm.
Was that done with a real semi, or
Any
was that done on the
semis,
soundstage?
yeah, no, any semis that we use are all designed for that. So they have special semi trailers. They have special back ends where it absorbs it. You've got tons of things that when you hit it, it doesn't destroy the cars. So I know that they had a really good semi for that when they had to do some really good stuff with it, especially when the car jumps up in the trailer and things like that.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
what
they,
sort
they,
of
they
how
did a
much
lot of
sort so how much sort of you're preparing for a stunt like that? How long does it sort of take before from designing the stunt and then getting greenlit? I mean, how long does that process normally take? Because obviously it's a big safety thing as well, isn't it? So
Yeah. Well, the writers write the stunts in conjunction with the coordinator because they have to know what they can do and what they can't do, what they can pull off, what's just way too dangerous, just out of the question, or what's doable. And then Jack Gill, he would then decide how to pull it off. and then what the location would be, and then so that would take scouting, finding out where the best locations for that particular jump would be, and then they design it, they work it out, they get all the speed, the ramps, the direction, the angles, everything's all worked out. It became a science after a while of at this speed, at this rate, at this impact, the ramp is this angle, and so it should land here. And then we had weight boxes in that as well, and then so it determined how far, and then the weight would determine what angle. And the only time I saw that not go as planned was that jump across the river. Um, do you remember seeing that jump? I think I have some pictures up on my.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, Knight Rider.
Yeah, that was.
Uh,
Let me think of the episode. A Good Day at White Rock.
yeah, good White Rock. And so that was done out at the old Indian Dunes, which was for anybody who knows, it's right behind Six Flags Magic Mountain in California. So there's a huge parcel of land that used to be motocross racing out there. And all the greats, all the absolute best of the best motocross riders used to go out to Indian Dunes. And so it was, for decades, it was a place to go. And then after they started kind of shutting it down, then they rented it out for production. So there's one place where you'll see all the stunt cars jump. You'll see General Lee jump. You'll see Fall Guy truck jump. You'll see Kit jump on the same road that comes down this dirt road.
And the A-Team. On the A-Team, right?
Yeah, A-Team. Yeah, everybody's used that road and that jump to go across that river. And so it's actually the day that we were out there filming that episode and that jump was just a couple of days after the Twilight Zone helicopter crash. And that was less than an eighth of a mile away from where we were jumping that for the Twilight Zone movie. And that was about an eighth of a mile. We could see the carnage down there. We could actually see the helicopter. We could see the tape, investigators all over the place, just down the river from where we were jumping that day. And so when Jack jumped that, if you'll notice in the photographs or even the footage on that, when he hits that ramp, he's level a good 30 feet off of that ramp. He's level. And he sailed over there and he went so far. It was a spectacular jump.
He landed on the back wheels, right?
No,
as he comes in.
No. He landed nose first on that.
That's why I'm remembering the scene now, because it goes like that.
Yeah, you'll see they cut away right before he lands, right? And so since he was so level on that and the weight was in the front way too much, he landed like at almost a 45-degree angle. Mm. And now if you hit dirt or asphalt, it actually would have been better. But it was kind of a gravelly sand that day. And when he hit, it went into the sand. And so he didn't go 1 inch further than where he hit. It was like hitting a brick wall.
Wow.
And when he smashed into that, we all just kind of took a gas because we were all there. Where you see the camera seeing that is where we were standing watching that. And when he hit, it just went boom straight in. And when all the safety guys ran over there, I have never seen Jack with his bell rung more than I saw that day.
Yeah, well, looking at the stunt in general, that made my bell ring just watching it.
Oh my gosh! Remember in Hooper, when they jump over the gorge and then they hit and they go up, and Burt Reynolds is just kind of like sitting there like he doesn't even know his name.
Yeah.
That's what Jack looked like. He was just like, oh, you could tell that he was not okay at that moment. And but it gave him 15 minutes, and he was shaking it off, and
Don't
okay.
they ever rehearse? Don't they ever rehearse the stunts, or just do they
Not for no, not for big stunts like that.
just go for it?
Yeah, like when I did a stunt with a Jeep. It was an 82-foot jump with a Jeep, and we rehearsed the smaller jumps just to kind of get the feel dialed in, what the weight of the weight boxes were.
Mm.
But for big jumps like that, no, you work it out on paper. You got a feel of it. You know what it's going to do, how it's going to perform, and because you've done it so many times, and so you just say, I'm going to land there.
So basically, you have literally one attempt to actually do this stunt in that sequence.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow, that's brave. I don't
Very,
think
very.
stunt people were really given the recognition they deserve. Like that's absolutely nuts.
Yeah,
So
there was a stunt that's on my. I think I sent you a headshot. I think, and
yeah,
it's got pictures of me jumping off of a semi into a pickup truck.
yeah. I want you to send me some bigger pictures so we can sort of show the
All right.
audience
So
what you're
that
talking
one,
about.
that one was one take. That was it. You that one would have been really difficult to do over again. So what we did to practice is we were at a truck stop, and we had the semi and then the pickup, and you start with just both of them sitting there, and then you jump off the trailer into the back of the pickup, because I had to be on top of the trailer as it was driving down the road, and I had to land in the back of the pickup. And so I do that a few times, and then the truck's stationary, and then the pickup drives past a little bit really slowly, and then you jump off into the back and a little bit faster and a little bit faster. So you start gauging where you're going to have to jump, when and where you're going to have to jump in order to land in the back of the pickup as it's passing. Because on that stunt, the semi, I crawl out of the semi cab, jump up on top of the cab, get up on top of the trailer, run down the end of the trailer, and then that pickup was way behind. And then I motioned for the pickup to come, and then the pickup comes by. And the way that I wanted it done is that I didn't want the truck to stop or slow down. I didn't want the pickup. I wanted it to pass. And so it was doing a good 10 miles an hour faster than that semi. Because if it just paced, to me, that would have been really boring to just jump off, boom, like that. I wanted it to be going at a different rate. And so when I finally did that, there was one take, and it was it. It was like either you get it or you don't. And when I did that, I had to jump for about 6 feet in front of the pickup in order to make it into the bed of the pickup.
Right.
So you just have to trust that he doesn't hit the brakes or slow down or anything. Otherwise, you land on the pavement or the hood of the truck or whatever. And so I jumped off just in time, because we were doing 50 in the semi, and he was doing about 60 with the pickup. And so the wind actually blew me back also. So I had to consider the fact that the wind blowing you at 50 miles an hour is going to blow you back as well. So you didn't want to overdo it and then land behind the truck either, because the wind would blow you back. So I jumped in front of the truck, so then I would clear the cab and land right in the back of the pickup.
How do you time that?
That's the only thing we did is just time it in that truck stop parking lot, just over and over and over. until I felt comfortable. And I said, I think I can get it. Now I've got to factor in the wind speed because we're going to be doing 50. So I've got to increase about 3 feet that. And then I just did it. The funny thing about that. So we were at this truck stop. This was in, it was around Frazier Park, California, up in the mountains, about an hour north of Los Angeles. And attached to the truck stop at that time was this old dive bar. And there were guys that were drinking and getting drunk by 10 o'clock there. And it was just one of those, just like you see in the movies, those old dive bars where you got truckers and bikers and all these guys. And so we're out there, and they were curious. They were watching us do this and prep for it, and then we take off, right? And so it got around. Somebody was telling them, "Oh, it's this stunt," and so they're doing this thing, and they're going out, and he's got to jump off the semi into the back of that pickup there, and they're going to be doing about 50 miles an hour or so. And the funny thing was that when we got back after I successfully did that jump, one of the crew says, "Hey, I don't know if I would go into near the bar right now because there's a lot of guys pissed off that you made it." They were all betting. So the entire bar was betting, every single guy in there, including the bartender, they were all betting whether I would make it or not. I would splatter or not, right? And so there were guys that were really upset that I made it because they lost money. And sure enough, this old guy comes in, he's all drunk, he goes, "Man, you cost me money, man." I'm sorry I lived.
So tell us, I see you did a bit on Speed, right? The film Speed. Tell us a little bit about how you got that gig and what you did in the movie. And
all the guys who worked on Speed were all good friends of mine. We'd worked together in multiple shows over the years. So, and that's how it's done with stunt work. You work with typically the same crew you've worked with over and over and over because you know you can trust those people. You know their liabilities. You know the strengths and the weaknesses, and when you work together like that, you just tend to try. It's like anything, cops, the same thing. You work together. You have a brother and sisterhood when you work together like that. So multiple shows over the years, I've worked with the same group of people throughout all those years. So so we were down on Speed we weren't on Speed. We were working on Speed. Okay. That's a whole other story. I can tell you some of the stuff people that
we'll do that later, next podcast.
Right. So we were doing the scene where the bus comes off the highway and it has to do the off ramp, right?
Yeah.
And so this is kind of how it's done with a lot of stunt people. You have first units and second units and third units sometimes. And so a group of us would do one stunt while somebody's doing something else on the other side of town or even in another country. And so our task was to pull off the bus going on the off ramp, crashing into all the cars and not slowing down. Right? And he's got to make that, and he's got to kind of go up on the wheels, right, and crash into all those cars. So we were responsible for getting all the cars there and things you don't even think about, right? So all those cars that were sitting on that off ramp, it was a curved off ramp, right, had to have all of the airbags pulled out of them because that's something that a lot of people don't know. All the stunt cars that you see crashing into each other in any movie, we have to remove all the airbags, unless it's a stunt where it looks normal and the airbag goes off because that's part of the storyline or something. But normally we have to take out hundreds and hundreds. We have taken out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of airbags out of cars because you can't have those things going off because that ruins all the shots. Because you see, balloons going off all over the place. You don't want to see that. So you just want to see carnage and glass and metal flying and things like that. So we spent days taking the effects guys mostly taking all the airbags out of all those cars in order for us to hit all those cars like that. And then get it up on the wheels, and you have special apparatuses to put the bus up on an angle like that. So that was our task. So that we were the unit to pull that stunt off like that.
That was an impressive stunt as well. I'd say one of my favorite films of all time. Speed
Yeah,
is just so good.
yeah,
And so
it was great.
I mean the bus jump. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
that was a miniature, right? That was a miniature.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think so.
there was a real bus that actually did part of the jump, and oddly enough, I know exactly where that bus is. By the way,
Today.
today, right now, I know where that bus sits. It is
Wow.
sitting not far from me in Missouri here.
Wow. I'm surprised it's not in some sort of like film museum or something
Hmm.
like that.
Yep,
I bet it's a bit of a state though, isn't it?
yeah, I plan to go there within the next couple of months, and I'm gonna get some video and shots of that. But the bus is sitting there to
Oh,
this day.
send me some pictures over. Email me some
Okay.
pictures. I'd love to actually
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
Oh mate, so impressive what you've done. Paul, you got any questions?
Yeah, so Doc, I obviously as a fan of the Western genre, old and new,
Hmm.
um, what was it like on The Quick and the Dead, and how did that come about for you? Uh,
So again, the coordinators, Terry Leonard was the coordinator for that, and I've known Terry forever, and then the people that were involved in doing all the stunts, I knew all them, and so it's just one of those things where we all kind of gravitate towards going there, and so we shot that out in Arizona, and um, the town was amazing to be able to play around with that town, and we always try to take a lot of video and pictures. So somewhere I've got the video of just taking the camera around and showing all the buildings and behind the scenes things like that. Um, and then we did the clock tower explosion out there, and so Billy Mortz was one of the guys going off, and Tom DeWeer, it was really cool to set that thing up and blow it and have them fly in the air and things, um, so that was an amazing shot. I mean, even to me, that was an amazing shot. It was just I love that the mechanics of blowing them off the clock tower. Um, Everybody was really nice. Sharon Stone was really nice to work with. She was under a lot of stress for that film because she was one of the executive producers. So she was kind of in her producer mode, and making sure everything ran right and was done correctly, and was everything set up correctly. And so you could tell she was kind of in her producer mode when she wasn't in her actress mode on that. Leo DiCaprio, he was just a kid at that time, and he was so young. He was such a kid. And Gene Hackman was, that was my first time working with Gene Hackman, and he was just a joy to work with. He was so kind and giving, and you'd see him helping the other actors, especially Leo. You'd see him helping him and trying to mentor him and tell him what to do and how to do things and giving him little hints of what to do. And he was just soaking it up like a sponge. And there were a lot of really good people that worked on that. Russell Crowe. So that was, like I said, I don't have a thing for like celebrities, but I just respect people for their craft. I mean, to me, they're just doing a job like stunt people. They go there, they do their job, and they leave. Um, so that was a really cool. All the explosions, and the explosions were done at different times, and some of them were rigged at the same time. But oddly enough, the thing that happened while we were there is, do you remember? So it had been, let's see, 94. Do you remember when California had the really, really bad Northridge earthquake?
Like, yep, yes, it does. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Vaguely remember it. Yeah.
Right.
yes.
So that was the really terrible one out here where um, entire overpasses collapsed and people were falling off, driving off the edges of them. Overpasses were collapsing all over Los Angeles. Five-story apartment buildings just pancaked down to one story. Where we shot Commando, that the Glendale Galleria got shut down. Part of it collapsed. And so they had to completely demolish the whole thing and rebuild the Glendale Galleria. Northridge Mall completely collapsed. They had to destroy, just level it and build a whole new mall. So anyhow, that it was a horrible earthquake. We were there during the earthquake, so we were shooting at that time. And
Wow.
so what happened was it happened really early in the morning, and I was in a hotel. Um, I think about 30 miles away or so. And so I had gone back to the hotel for that night, and I got up and I switched on the TV while I was getting ready, brushing my teeth and everything, and and I switched on the TV, and the news was on, and Los Angeles was burning. Just the whole
Wow.
Los Angeles was on fire. They just did all these aerial shots of nothing you could see but just carnage and smoke and fire and buildings on fire and collapsed, and everything was like Armageddon. It literally looked like Armageddon.
I was about to say that that must have been like an Armageddon moment, just
It
seeing
was.
that.
It was. It was post-apocalyptic. Seeing Los Angeles, I'm going, wait a minute, is this real? Hold on. It took a little while to process. Going, what is going on? That's Los Angeles. That's where I live. that's
Yeah,
that's my home. Holy hell!
Crazy.
terrifying.
And so, and of course, our phones start blowing up, um, and so we hadn't gone to the set that day, and so everything got shut down, and so everything took a pause, and most of the people, well, the people that were based in Los Angeles, typically went back because everybody had to see if their loved ones were still alive. They had to check if their houses existed still, um, and and so everything shut down for a little bit while we all went back to Los Angeles to check on LA to see if our homes were even there. So that was a weird thing, like right in the middle of filming on that. And once people found out that everybody was okay or their homes were okay or not, then they trickled back, and then we started filming again.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you
Wow.
for sharing that.
Well, so let me ask you, what's the craziest stunt you've ever been involved in? The most dangerous, the most crazy? Because I know there's morbid people out there that want to
Yeah.
know the craziest thing you've ever done.
Well, the truck stunt was one of the most dangerous ones that I did.
And that
Um,
was what show was that? That was
the Fall Guy, and so it
Fall
was
Guy.
the where it was jumping off the semi, because man,
Yeah.
there was there was no room for error on that.
Mm.
You either land in the back of the pickup or you're done, right? Um, there was another one I did. I did a episode of Chips, and I had to jump up one of those big bikes, and I ended up the bike that I was riding. There was just something wrong with the acceleration, and I couldn't really put my finger on it, but I just, yeah, I would ride it around, and I just felt like it didn't have the power that it should have.
Mm.
And I would take it back to the guy, and he would put spark plugs in and flush the filter, and then and he'd send me out. I'd run it around, and I go, no, there's just something about it I can't put my finger on. And he would flush out stuff and put new wires on, and then clean out the carburetor and everything. And I would write it again, and it just wasn't right. It just, I don't know if it'd been just abused so much over the years, but I just had this feeling about it. But then it's like we had to do it. I had to do this jump with it, and the director's like, we got to go. You know, it's the old adage, you know, we're
Mm.
losing tonight, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I said, whatever, all right, fine. And I did this jump and I hit the ramp. And as soon as I hit the ramp, you have to gun it to pick the front end up. And these bikes are 800 pounds.
Mm.
And I had to jump the bike like this. And as soon as I hit that ramp, the acceleration went,
Oh,
Oh,
and at that split second, I knew I was in trouble because I knew I wasn't going to pick up the front end.
so what did you do?
It the acceleration just lost, and I hit the ramp. And as soon as I hit that ramp, I was level as soon as I left the ramp. And it went like this, and I did about 60 feet, and I was at a 45-degree angle like this with an 800-pound bike. Right? And
Wow.
I hit that front wheel, and I was almost over because that hit, I wasn't even on the seat anymore. I was like just holding on to the handlebars, like one of those uh, guys that do like nitro circus where they're like up in the air, you know.
Mm.
And when it hit on the front wheel, um, my body just went forward and I smashed head on into the windshield of the motorcycle like this, just
Oh,
straight
damn.
up. Right? And if I hadn't had the helmet on, it would have taken my head right off.
Wow.
Because the 4-inch thick plexiglass just smashed right into my face like that.
Oh,
And
damn.
so it went in just far enough where the helmet would let that windshield in, and so
Mm.
the sides of the helmet prevented it from just taking my head right off like that.
Oh, God.
And but it came in and it hit my face. And it cut my nose in half, right here and into my face, right here. And when you get your nose hit, I mean, if somebody punches you in the nose, you can't see. You know, you tear up, and there's blood, you know, going all over the place, and so I can't see. And so I hit. It bounced. It bounced again. It bounced a third time on the wheels, and I did not fall over. I did not crash. I just
Wow.
kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing, and then I couldn't see where I was going. I couldn't see anything at all. And I knew that I had gone far enough. I was probably out of the shot because that was my first consideration. Even with all the blood and the pain and everything, it was, did you get the shot? Yeah, I was
That's
really
dedication.
yeah.
yeah.
And so I knew I was out of frame, and so I just stopped the bike and I just dumped it. And I just dropped it, and then I sat down on the bike. And I knew somebody was going to be there any second. Usually, the safety person is that was Paul Knuckles was the coordinator for that, and usually the safety guy is there first. And for some reason, the makeup girl reached me first, and she runs up to me. She looks at me. She goes, "Oh my god!"
Wow.
You don't want to hear that. I go, "Just shut up! Shut up! Don't tell me anything more. Don't tell anyone."
Did you get the take?
Absolutely, we got the tape.
Good.
And so they took me to the hospital, and they had to they sewed me up a little bit, and then they sent me to a really really good plastic surgeon, and he was one of the plastic surgeon for the stars. He did a lot of the Playboy bunnies, and he did a lot of the celebrities in Beverly Hills. And I was so glad that they had done that. This is back when people had a responsibility. Film companies took you as an asset. They treated you like an asset. And so there was no hesitation. Send him to the best surgeon. Today you'd be on your own. But
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, but they sent me to the best surgeon possible. And he fixed me up, and he did this new method that had pioneered, and you can't even tell. You'd have to like look at me really close to see the line that goes into my face like that. But it was separated. My nose was completely in half like that.
Wow.
But they sent me to a really good surgeon. They put me back together, and I was back doing stunts a week later.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
Doc, we got to say it doesn't notice. So there we go. They've done a great job.
Do you know what?
Yeah,
I am going to be
yeah,
zooming in now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone watching this is going to be taking screenshots and zooming into your nose.
Okay,
How many
feel like
people
that.
are going to
Yeah,
check your nose out?
yeah.
Yeah.
Doc,
Just
can I
a
just
little hairline right there.
Yeah.
Doc, can I just ask you a question? Just about the
Sure.
blacks. You're talking about the blacks in chips that you've done. Do they do the same structure as they did in Knight Rider with like a unit 1, 2, and 3? Did they do different structures of the black, or were they all the
Yes.
same?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't do a lot of bike jumps. And typically those were older bikes that you could expend because they didn't last after the crash usually. Because you wouldn't want to be on a bike integrity wise that's been involved in a crash. So those were pretty much one takes, and those bikes were gone. But they had beefed up. They had pretty much stock Kawasaki's in most of the shots, and they just beefed it up with really good carburetors, so it wouldn't sputter if they bounced or went up a hill or had to go down a hill or something. Uh, so yeah, Paul Knuckles was really good about building really good bikes for that show.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Uh,
So, got a question for you.
sure.
If you had to pick one of your most favorite stunts that you've not been a part of, that you've seen in a movie, do you have any favorites? Would you say when you look at it, you think, oh my God, that is unbelievable?
Um, I think that Vince Diedrich um, in Romancing the Stone, the stunts on that was just over the top.
Yeah.
Just over the top. Every stunt that they did was over the top in that movie. And when they jumped off of the waterfall and out of the car, and Vince Diedrich jumps down and hits the water, it was just spectacular, right? I mean, I would do that in a second. Um, I'm considered, and this I didn't coin this, but I'm considered what's called a 200 percenter.
Mm.
So if somebody says, I don't know, I don't think I can do that, or I don't want to do it, I'm always the one who says, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And if I do it, I have to do it better than 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 somebody comes up with. Just like the truck going past, instead of just it pacing like that, I wanted it to go faster. And so I think that the jump with Pepe, the little mule, the little off-road car, the Bronco, Pepe little mule, that was great. I love the
Yeah.
jump. Dean Jeffries built that car. He was a builder of stunt cars, and he did a fantastic job on that. To that little thing jumping over that river like that, it was awesome. Um, the wheels on that were specially designed by Kreger. By the way, Kreger, it was a leading manufacturer of mags and wheels all the way from the 60s and 70s, and they built those wheels specifically for that jump, so it wouldn't cut into the tires from that jump. And they still use those kind of wheels today. Um, but I think that was really amazing, coming out of that car and that waterfall and doing that jump in
Yeah.
the air. It was spectacular. That was
That's a great movie as well. That's
yeah,
a great movie.
yeah,
I think they're thinking about remaking it, aren't they? I heard that
yeah,
they're going to do a
yeah.
remake of it.
I heard some talk about that. I think I think one of the most dangerous stunts that made me just have chills I think, was Buddy Joe Hooker on Hooper. And that was when he drove under that smokestack. As that giant 300-ton smokestack was falling and exploded and going down, he took that Trans Am underneath that smokestack as it fell.
Wow.
If you look at that, it's
Wow.
just, it's mind
I
numbing.
don't think I've ever seen that film. I think I'm going to have to watch it tonight.
I mean, that was, watching Hooper is like a documentary for us, because everything you see in Hooper, we all did. Even partying at the Palomino Club in Los Angeles, and getting in bar fights in Palomino, and so it's just everything, going backwards down PCH, leading a bunch of other stunt people. We all did that. We all did stuff like that, right? So watching Hooper is like a documentary of watching what we did back in those days. And so at the end, they're destroying this town, supposedly this little city. And so all these explosions are going off, and the cars are flying all over the place and crashing. And that smokestack, they blow the smokestack, and I don't know, this thing was like 200 feet. I don't know what it was. And it just starts to slowly fall. And Buddy Joe Hooker has to drive underneath that smokestack before it just explodes on the ground. I think that
I
to
need
me,
to check this out. I need to check
please
this one
watch
out.
that. Yeah, that to me is the most incredible stunt. That's those ones. That's a stunt that I would go, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what, Buddy Joe, you want to do this? I think you should take it. Because
Do you think sort of, say, stunt works sort of changed from back in the 80s and 90s and 70s to what it is now? Do you think
it's totally different?
In what
totally
sense
different.
would you say?
More
digital, it's more special effects.
Yeah, it's more special effects, more CG, and more wires. Now everything has wires. Everything is cabled. You jump off of a curb and you got a cable on, just in case, And back in the day, we didn't have cables. We were just starting to develop that technology of doing falls, and having cables and things on. Because when we did 10-story falls into airbags, it was it. We did 10-story falls. We jumped off the building and hit the airbag, and hoped that we were lined up correctly. Now, I'd say all of the jumps, pretty much all of the jumps over 5 stories at least, have cables and wires. And so it's so safe. And that's the name of the game anyway. I mean, that's what sets apart a daredevil from a stunt person. With a daredevil, you have a 50-50 chance of making it out alive. And stunt people, you want as close to 100% as possible. So I get it. I know what the technology has done for us. It has limited the injuries and the death, and that's the ultimate game, right? So it's just one of those nostalgic things of doing a stunt without being cabled up. Yeah, it's in one part of our brain, we're going, well, yeah, of course. I mean, that makes sense. We all stay safe that way. And then the other part is, yeah, we didn't use cables back then. And you'll see and hear stunt people now, and they'll look at stunts that we used to do back then, and they'll see pictures or video, and they'll go, "Where are the cables?" Like, we didn't have cables back then. It was just like we either made it or didn't, And they just go, "Oh my God!" Like, I can't even imagine that. So on one hand, it is it's an awesome technology that has been afforded stunt people to keep them safe these days, and that's the ultimate goal anyway. And none of us want to lose anybody, and we lost a
Yeah.
lot of people back then.
Yeah.
Now, I was talking with a friend of mine this past weekend. He was at the fall that a stuntman named AJ Bakunis. Are you familiar with that name,
No,
AJ
no,
Bakunis?
no.
He for many years held the world record for the high falls, and he was trying to beat his own record, and which was like 320 something, I think. And so at that height, when you look at an airbag, it looks like a postage stamp, and you just can't even imagine fathom landing in that tiny little square down there, at 300 feet. So he had this gigantic bag created, and they sewed a couple of different bags together, and it was just a gigantic bag. And unfortunately, the bag failed, and he went right through the bag.
Oh,
And and I was talking with a friend of mine who was there. He was one of the guys there at the airbag, and he saw AJ Bakunis go through that bag and the aftermath. And because I wasn't there, I didn't see that. It kind of rippled through the industry when that happened. But yeah, that was an unfortunate side effect of not having cables and wires and things. And then they started developing all the what's called decelerators, which was these cable systems where it would just let you down, and that's what they use today. And so you can do a 50-story high fall now, and you can end up just slowly decelerating to where you can be 3 feet off the ground, and it's great. And so it's awesome, and it saves lives, and that's the ultimate goal. Because after a certain amount, it's just terminal velocity is not your friend. So there's only so many you can do it. And it's typically, the ironic part is, it's usually not the crazy falls, the crazy stunts that actually get us. And this is something that's known within stunt work. It's the small things. It's the minor stunts, the easy stunts. Those are the ones
you don't expect it to go wrong.
You don't expect it. You've done it 1,000 times, and you go, I've done this 1,000 times, and so you're not on your game. You're not hyper visual. You don't dissect every single thing where a dangerous stunt you would. If it's a 1-story fall, you just go, I could roll off in my sleep. And that's what has unfortunately taken the lives of some good stunt people, are stunts that nobody expected. There was a stunt woman. Her name was Bibi O'Deal. She was a French stunt woman. She held the world record for women in high fall, and she did it out of a hot air balloon into an airbag. And spectacular woman, and she was a dear friend of mine. We spent every single day together back right before she passed away. And she had told me she was going to do excuse me, she had told me she was going to do this charity event. And because she was just like that, she loved to do live charity events for kids and causes to raise money and things. And so she was doing this event where she was rolling off of a roof into porta pits, just big cushions, and it wasn't even an airbag. So there was no safety person there. There was no team of making sure everything was perfect. And if I would have been there, I would have probably done something with the gutters, the gutter that was on the roof, because it's metal. It's got hinges. It's got things. It's got nails. It's got screws. It's got all these things that we would go, I don't like that. Let's tape this down, or let's take this off, or let's take the gutter off, or whatever. Right? It was just a simple fall off a roof into a pad. And so she said she was going to do that day. I was off at another location that day, and she rolled off the roof. And as she went off, the gutter caught on her shirt that she had. And so instead of going off this direction, it went off and yanked her this direction. And she hit a brick wall.
Wow.
And her head hit a brick wall that was not far from the back. But it was far enough away where it was fine. But just that little bit of that yank from the gutter threw her off a different direction. She hit her head and she died.
Wow.
And
That's
so
crazy.
those are the things that get us. It's just we're not expecting it. We're too confident. It's just like that skydiver that one time in Hawaii that he had like 7,000 jumps to his credit, and he took people with him, and he would do tandem jumps, or he would film the jumps, and he just could do it in his sleep. And so he went up one day, and he didn't like we would do. We would check every single thing. We would have a checklist. Is this done? Do we have this? Do we have this? Do we have this? Check, 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 check. Yes. Fine. Okay. Let's double check it. Let's check it again. Check, 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 check. Good. All right. We're good. He had done so many thousands of jumps. He was so confident that he took up some people, pushed them out. Yay. Okay. Now I'm jumping out with the camera. And he jumped out and with the camera and he's filming. And then he realized he didn't even have his parachute on.
Oh,
wow.
Because he didn't hyper visual check things because I've done this a million times,
Yeah.
And
wow.
those are the things that get us. It's when we're too confident.
Yeah.
So Doc, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Going back to the series of The Fall Guy and going back to the series of The Fall Guy.
Paul, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay, no worries.
Sure.
Sorry, going back to the series of Fall Guy and obviously Hooper. These productions are based on the actual characters who are stuntmen. Does that give your stunt team a more of a practical input in the productions?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah,
of course, because Paul Knuckles, who he did chips and it was everything within his technology made the technology of stunts better. Fall Guy, it was about stunt people. So that with the Fall Guy, it was a situation where you didn't have to hide stuff either, because you could have a production team, you could have camera people, you could have stunt riggers, you could have everybody around you and not have to be behind the camera. So you could be obvious about stunt riggers coming in and attaching cables and getting cars ready. And so we were really relaxed on that show. Because we didn't have to be really hyper visual. Is this guy in the shot? Is this guy in the shot? Is this a truck with the secrets of the technology? Nah, we can show anything and everything because it's about stunts. So there were a lot of people that had nothing to do with the scene, but they were just rigging, and we showed them rigging. So it was a lot easier back then doing stunt scenes with that. And Mickey Gilbert was the best. He was one of the best, absolutely, like that. So yes, it does. It makes things easy.
Going back to the semis, you were talking about the semis when the impact going into the back of, doing those impact scenes in the back of the semis. Were these semis obviously built, each structure built to withstand different impacts, or was it the same structure each time?
No, it was just a truck. Right. And a lot of times if you dealt with a semi, you'd always ask Kerry Lofton to make sure everything was perfect on him. So a lot of times you saw the truck There were a handful of stunt people that did semi work. Carrie being the most notable. And Carrie, people sometimes say, you're ready to retire. Stunt people don't retire. They'll take it as long as their body will accept it. They will take it, right? They will take a job. When Carrie Lofton do you remember the movie Against All Odds?
Yes, I do.
Okay, remember the chase scene on
Yes.
Sunset, which
Sunset.
all stunt people have done, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're a stunt person, you have done the Sunset stunt scene just yourself. There are two places that we as stunt people will kind of have a pilgrimage to do: the Sunset Drive, and we've all done it, and Mulholland Drive, and where we literally drift around Mulholland Drive.
I've done it on a bus. I've done it on a bus slowly.
Yes, correct. Right. Yes. So, but we do it sideways. Right. So the scene on Sunset with the Porsche and the Ferrari. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. So in the Ferrari was Kerry Lofton, and he was, I think, 80. I think when he did that.
Wow.
Okay.
And so he was the stunt driver in the Ferrari for that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will do stunts as long as you can do stunts.
I mean, Kane Hodder's still doing stunts, isn't he? And
Sure he does. I worked with Kane for so many years. We did so many pictures together. I love Kane.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
A good guy. He's a good guy.
There was
a couple of times.
Did you remember one of the biggest, people will ask me sometimes, what was the biggest fail on a production? And which is a good question to ask, by the way.
I was going to ask it. I was actually going to ask it. So
yeah. Because a lot of times people want to know, what was the biggest stunt gone wrong or the biggest fail? That was hands down, Cyborg 2.
Okay.
It's Glass. It was Cyborg 2 Glass Shadow. It was just it's just from the day one. It was just awful. It was and we had really talented people on it. It was just that we had peripheral people on it that didn't know as much as they needed to know, like special effects people.
Okay.
Yeah, because we all have to work together, right?
Yeah.
And when you have explosions, that thing was just chocked full of explosions. We had enormous balls of fire all over the place, and we got blown up all over the place. And I was one of the men, the soldiers that got blown up and flew through the air, and we were like there was one scene where we're like crossing over, flying through the air after being blown up, and there's gigantic fireballs behind us, and cinematically it was just awesome, right? And the stunt guy, or the special effects guy, I had never worked with this guy before, and none of us had. And the director and he, I guess, had worked together, and they would talk together without involving the stunt coordinator sometimes. And they would come up with things to make things bigger and better, and just forget to mention that to the stunt coordinator sometimes.
Right, okay.
Which is a terrible thing not to do. So there was one big scene towards the end. And by the way, that was Angelina Jolie's first movie.
Right.
So we were teaching her how to do stunts, and she was on wires and getting thrown through the air. And to her, she was just a wide-eyed kid going, am I doing everything right? Am I doing everything right? And now she's like the queen. She's totally different personality. But she was just a snot-nosed kid doing her first movie back then.
Yeah.
And So there was a huge scene at the end where they were blowing up everything, and Jack Palance was coming out with a rocket launcher and blowing everything up, and which he was a joy to work with, by the way. He was awesome.
Mm.
And so this big explosion involved six stunt people, and they were each stepping on what's called a ram. And if you're familiar with that, it's a
Catapulted.
yeah, it's a hydraulic system where
Mm.
you step on it or somebody hits the button and it goes boom like that
Yeah.
and throws you through the air. So all of those war movies, they step on a ram, it goes shoo like that, and then they're thrown through the air, right? So there were six stunt people. All six were going to be stepping on a ram, and they were all programmed to go at the same time. And the special effects guy was the guy holding the button doing that. And so it was supposed to throw all the stunt people away from an explosion that was behind them. So we had three what's called bomb pods, three pods behind them, and they were called mortars. And the explosive goes down into a tunnel down in the bomb pod. So you got three bombs essentially, and then you have a bag, like a plastic trash bag of a naphthalene or gasoline or napalm. Basically, it's like napalm, and you put the bag down in the cavity there, and so when the bomb goes off, it blows the liquid up in the air, and the liquid becomes vapor, and that's what produces those gigantic apocalypse now type
Fireballs.
explosions and big giant mushroom clouds and the balls of fire like that. And so that blows up, the vapor ignites, then you see these big giant fireballs. Well, everything had been tested on the amount of liquid that we had all approved of. And if you made any adjustments to that, then we would have had to do a test to see how that went or what direction it went, if it went this way or laterally or whatever.
Mm.
And so the director went to the effects guy and he said, is there any way that we can make this a little bit bigger, a little hotter? And the effects guy, well, of course. I mean, we could blow up the whole city if you want. It was shot down in San Pedro, California. It was down by the shipyards. And so he said, yeah, we can make it as big as you want, but we're going to have to retest and do everything. And it was already nighttime. And he says, nah, I don't have the time for that. That would put us back a whole day. Can you just make it hotter tonight? Because I really want the fire at night. And this is where a professional effects guy would go, no.
Yeah.
Out, no. Because we have human beings, we have stunt people. And if something goes wrong, then we hurt people, and we don't want to do that. And I don't want to lose my license. And unfortunately, he went, okay. And he agreed to it.
No.
And so he essentially put a gallon more of naphthalene or gasoline in those bags, each of the bombs. And 1 gallon for each of those bombs made it 10 times the amount that you're supposed to use. Where the top of the lip of where that hole goes down, it wasn't contained in the hole anymore. It was overlapping on the edge of the top of the bomb pod. Now, all this was done, and we didn't even see it. So when all the stunt people got, and I was originally supposed to be one of those 6 guys, and I had switched out with a guy to do something else. And so those 6 guys were there, and they get in their marks. And this effects guy says, yeah, it's going to be about a 20 by 20 fireball. That was the original. And so they're all in their place. And the fire marshal on that, right? fire marshal, and by the way, I have all this on video. So a lot of times, we as stunt people or coordinators, we will videotape a stunt for critique sense, or did we do everything right, or if it happened this way, we can analyze it. Or if something goes wrong, we have a record of it. And so I had my video camera set up for this big shot. And this was the only video besides the production video that is allowed out, because they own it. They own all of theirs, but they don't own mine. And so mine was the only video that captured this stunt gone wrong. And so the stunt guys get in their place, and on 3, boom, and they had to get the fire marshal to approve it before they lit it up, right? They couldn't find him. They couldn't find the fire marshal. And on the video, you can hear, "Where's the fire marshal? We can't find him. He's not here," right? And then somebody says, it's on my video. It says, "We found him. He's asleep in his truck." Right?
Okay.
And somebody else will go, "Well, wake him up and get him out of here," right?
Yeah.
So the fire marshal is half asleep. He just walks through. I got him on video just walking through, didn't inspect anything, didn't look at anything. He just walks through, walks back, says, "We're good." And he goes back to his car, back to sleep, I think. And so when it came time to do this, and the director says, "Okay, we're all ready." The stunt coordinator is allowed, when he says action, then the stunt coordinator then takes over and says, "Guys, ready? Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3." And on 3, the special effects guys lit that thing up. And so the rams are all pressure sensitive. So they go off when the stuntman steps on it. Right. But the special effects guy, hit that bomb, all 3 of those bombs, and they were still on the rams when he lit that bomb off.
Oh no.
And the fire was supposed to be behind them. And so those are the things we have to know, because if we get close to the fire, we put on fire gel just in case, right? You put fire gel on your hands, your face, so just in case. Well, they said it was going to be far enough away, and nobody put fire gel on. Now, me, I don't trust anybody. Even if they would have said, "Yeah, it's way back there," I still would have put fire gel on. I still would have put a little bit of fire gel on just in case. None of those guys did. When he lit that up, they hit the rams and they disappeared.
You blew the rams up?
No, yeah, the rams were obliterated, but the fireball went like here are the guys. The fireball just went past them, and they just disappeared. They were inside the fireball.
Wow. Was anyone hurt? Or
all 6 of them. All 6 of them got burnt.
Wow.
And the fireball went out 60 feet out, burned 2 cameras, burned all the rams, burned the pads, melted the pads that the guys went on, and it went up about 200 feet. The fireball went 200 feet in the air. And people that were in their houses in San Pedro, California, thought that somebody had set up off a nuclear bomb. There were calls all over the city that a nuclear bomb had just gone off in the city of San Pedro, because they could see it from miles away, just a big mushroom cloud going up out of the And so they disappear for a moment, and then all you see is fire. And then individually, you see each one popping out of the fireball as the rams shot them out of the fireball. Wow. And thank God that the rams actually propelled them out. Otherwise, they just would have burned up. They literally just would have burned up.
Not to mention projectiles. The projectiles from the rams.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the Rams, they were the stunt people were the projectiles.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
step on it, it just goes boom like that, and just
But
knocks
what,
them.
no, what I'm saying is, with the explosion, maybe it wouldn't where ripped
No,
apart the.
the only thing that was any projectiles were vapor.
Right.
That was just the liquid vapor going in all directions. That was the only project. There were no projectiles whatsoever, other than the vapor, the
Mm,
liquid. And so each one of them you see coming out of the fireball, each of those six
mm,
guys, and then they land in the porta pits, the pads like that, which were melted. It scorched all the equipment, burned two cameras. Everything around was scorched and burned, and all of them got burns. Most of them got first, second degree, and there were four of them that got third degree on their tips of their noses, the backs of their fingers, their ears, a little bit on the face, just because that was the only thing exposed were their face and hands like that. And ended up all six of them were in the hospital. They were in the burn unit after that. And
that's just like where people's just not listening, think they know it and they don't.
right,
Me
yeah,
and Paul have worked with people like that. Trust me,
yeah.
we know.
Oh
Yeah,
God, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It
You
was
know,
it
we
was
had
just a
we had
nightmare.
we were shooting a film called Krites, and we had some pyrotechnics where the critters were blowing up. Do you know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
we set up the shot and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was actually Paul that turned around and said, "I think the actor's a bit too close to that." And I looked at the stunt coordinator and I said, "Is he too close?" And he went, "Yeah." Do you know what I mean? And then the actors started getting yanked. Oh, we got to reset it. We got to reset it. I was like, well, yeah, unless you want to meet your end, mate. Do you know what
Right,
I mean?
right, exactly.
These
Yeah.
are big explosions. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you
Yeah.
want? But yeah, we've been there. We know exactly what he's talking about.
Oh
We know
God. Yeah.
exactly what
You
you're
know,
talking about.
I should have taken the first hint because the effects guy had three fingers wrapped in bandages just in the beginning, right? I should have taken that as a hint of things to come.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
There was,
yeah,
there was a
I should have
sign there.
taken a note of that.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there's a sign there.
Oh, oh, and even on video, I've got a picture of him walking around setting the bombs. He's got a cigarette. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I totally agree with you. Totally agree. That's a bit of a
and of
signal, isn't it?
course, that there were huge lawsuits on that. The stunt people all got settlements, all their equipment replaced.
To right.
But it was
All because people
scary.
make stupid decisions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Of course, he lost his license, and but
Did you
yeah,
not did you not work on Lethal Weapon?
no,
No, it didn't. It might be a different stunt guy. I thought worked on Lethal Weapon 2.
no. I would,
No,
yeah, I would love to. I think I was somewhere else. I think I was doing,
somewhere else.
yeah, I was
But
doing
no,
another film.
I mean, listen, these stories have been absolutely amazing. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Um, we've learned so much today about the industry. And hopefully one day me and Paul will work with you in the future. Are you doing
That'd be
anything at
awesome.
the moment? You
I
doing
would love
anything
to.
yet? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. When we come over to LA, we'll definitely get together and we'll
Yeah,
definitely work on something.
Yeah, it's like
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure. It really has.
Well,
Listening to these stories, it
yeah,
really has
love it.
been an absolute.
Oh
Oh,
God, I've
thank
got
you,
so many
thank you.
stories.
Well,
You could
maybe
just
we can
have
save it
we could
for
just have
part
a
two.
whole series of I could tell stories. People used to just invite me to parties. They didn't want me. They just wanted my stories. Go, hey, could you come over and tell stories?
I loved your commando story. I didn't actually know what's his name who played the bad guy was second choice.
Well, yeah. So
I
Vernon,
did not
actually,
know.
okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let me set the record straight. By the way, and it was too long. I was just starting to get my TikTok legs under me. And of course, there's a lot of people. That was like the longest story ever. I
Yeah,
didn't
but it
want
was
it
a
to
good
be any
story though.
longer, but Vernon was actually the first choice.
Right.
So he was scheduled to do that first. And then one of the producers said, let's not go with Vernon, let's go with this guy.
I know the guy
And
you're talking
so,
about.
yeah, so now we still haven't solved the mystery, actually, because I could swear that wasn't Wings Hauser. It just didn't look like Wings. And he, in an interview years and years ago, said that he had auditioned for that, but he did not get the role. And somebody else came in quickly after that. He lasted one day and then he was out. So Wings said it wasn't him, although everything on the internet says that it was Wings, but they just got hold of the fact that he was up for the role. So he says it wasn't him. It didn't look like him to me. He was dark haired, dark. Of course, he was, in wig and stuff, but it just didn't look like Wings to me. So I'm going to find out. I'm going to talk to Silver Pictures, which is Joel Silver's production, and I'm going to reach out one of these days and say, can you look back in the archives and see exactly who that was there for one day? So I'm determined to do that.
Do you know what? You got me on that as well, because I would like to know that as well, because I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, because
so if you find out, drop me an email.
Yeah, definitely. I will, because everybody on the internet says, "Well, it was Wings Hauser." And I go, "Well, yeah, I mean, I know that's what it says, but he says it wasn't him, and it didn't look like him." And so we'll solve that riddle one of these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But listen, Doc, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
It's been absolutely amazing. Maybe we can do a part 2 later on. Do you know what I mean? Because I know you've got some awesome stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear them. But
sure, yeah. And if you ever want to do a movie out in the middle of nowhere, so I left LA. I moved out of LA after 40 some years there, and I went to back where I grew up in Missouri. And now I've just got property out. I got like 80 acres to play with out here.
Sounds good.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And I've got about a mile of the river here on my property. And it's actually been used for films out here, this property.
We'd love that. We're shooting a film at the moment called Pinocchio Unleashed. So we're doing a horror version of Pinocchio at the moment, which is quite
that
exciting.
Would be awesome. Yeah,
we're doing that.
That would be awesome, because you could do everything. I've got a cabin here, and it's a creepy looking cabin. You could make it look like a horror place. And they shot Winter's Bone here.
Okay.
Which with Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah, her first big feature like that. Great movie. But yeah, they shot Winter's Bone here on my property, and
we're definitely keep in touch on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Couple of horror films in mind.
Yeah, the great thing about shooting, because I plan on shooting some films out here, is there's nobody out here to tell you what you can and can't do.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Yeah, that's it. So if you want to blow shit up, you blow shit up.
That's right. It's my property, dang it.
But no, listen. We'll definitely stay in touch. Like I said, love your stories. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And
anytime.
We will definitely speak to you soon.
Yeah, get a stunt person to going on their stories. Just a side note, on the 17th, 18th, and 19th of this month, several of us are going to Jonesboro, Georgia. It's a thing called the Trans Am Takeover. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've not heard of it, no.
So it's an enormous show. And all the Smokey and the Bandit cars, the Buford cars, the Bandit cars, even 2 trucks. We've got 2 semis, the snowman trucks, thousands of people. There's going to be hundreds of Trans Ams converging on Jonesboro. Jonesboro, where Smokey and the Bandit was shot. in Georgia. And so
Lovely.
it's kind of a big giant pilgrimage of all the Smoking the Bandit fans and cast and crew and stunt people. Everybody's going to be there. Even the cast of the movie, like Snowman's daughter, says, hey, Uncle Bandit. All those people are going to be there. We're going to have a huge panel of stunt people. Janet Brady's going to be there. She was the one who doubled Sally Field for Smoking the Bandit. She's got an enormous career. Justin DeRosa, he's one that's pioneered like the pipe ramps for the industry. So we've got stunt people, actors, reenactors. We've got a thing called Eastbound and Down, which I'm putting a plug for them. And they're the reenactors. It's the Bandit, Buford, Junior, the State Trooper. They all have the cars, and they all do reenactments coming in with a truck, and they do chase scenes down the Jonesboro.
Oh, wow. Send me over the information, and then I'll post it in the links. Yeah.
It's going to be enormous. And then after we do the show there in Jonesboro, where they shot Smoking the Bandit, then we're going to go to all the filming locations for Smoking the Bandit.
Oh, how cool is that?
Right.
How
So
cool
all
is that?
of us, all the Trans Am's going to be 100 and so Trans Am's just going from location to location to location and taking video and pictures, and it's going to be just an absolute just hoot. So
That is so cool. Ping me over the information by email. I'll make sure, guys, if you want to go there, I'll put all the information in the links down below so you can.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Is it a ticket affair? Do you have to get tickets? And
yeah, you can look at it's transamtakeover.com.
Okay.
And then the guys who do that reenactment, it's called eastboundanddown.com.
Okay.
And they're the ones, they go all over the country. They are full time. That's all they do. They go full time all around the country doing these reenactments for cities and fairs and county fairs, and like the city will pay for them to come and do these huge reenactments. And then next year, I'm slated to jump one of the Smoking the Bandit cars for one of the state fairs.
Oh, awesome!
Right?
That is so sick. That is so cool. You're going to get that on video. You're going to get that on video.
Oh, it's going to be all over the place.
Oh, mate, I need to see that. Yeah,
it's going to be covered, and just like when the General Lee jumped over that fountain, just recently. That had so much press. We're going to do the same thing in a square, probably a city square, with the Smoking the Bandit car.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But no, well, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate your time. Yeah, it's been awesome.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're so welcome.
And we'll definitely catch up, and we'll definitely talk about getting you over to do some stunt work for us.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. I'm there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doc. It's been amazing listening to your story. It really has. And obviously the info that you've given us over these productions has been amazing. So thank you very much. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Anytime. Anytime.
Thanks, Doc. Round of applause for Doc, everyone.
Applause for you guys. Good job.
Thanks, Doc. And we'll see you soon.
All right. You're welcome. And I will see you guys
soon, sir.
Stuntman thumbs up.
Thumbs up, 100%, my friend.
All right.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Bye. Bye.